Hi, my name is Delaney Peters. I'm the secretary of the NAACP Youth Council. We have Kayla Earl and Brian Jackson, the first vice president, and Obed, the treasurer, will be interviewing her. Take it away, guys.
All right, what's up, everybody? As she said, my name is Obed. Yeah, I'm the treasurer of this here chapter, and today we're interviewing Miss Kayla Earl. Miss Kayla Earl, she's a good friend of mine, so I'm so excited to be interviewing her on today, alongside with Mr. Brian Jackson, our first vice president. So, Miss Earl, our first question is, just to break the ice, to lighten the mood before we even get real.
Okay.
What is your favorite quarantine snack right now?
My favorite quarantine snack.
Mm-hmm.
Chewy lemon heads and salt and vinegar chips. Utz salt and vinegar chips.
You had me at the chewy lemon heads, but
Yes.
then you said salt and vinegar, and I just cringed. That salt and vinegar is nasty. Always been nasty. I can't get with it. Mm-mm.
It's delicious, actually.
Oh man.
All right. So the next question is, if it wasn't for quarantine, what would you be doing right now with your life?
Ooh. Well, I would have physically been at college, just finishing my first year, like completing it, yay. And right now I would be working, like into my summer jobs, and probably planning on my annual trip with my best friend to go see a Broadway show in New York.
That's good. That's good. Now, you said you're just finishing up your first year of college. So can you tell us, like, what's your major? Where are you right now?
So I go to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I am majoring in theater with a specification in acting, and a minor in musical theater.
Oh, very, very interesting. So we got an actress on here, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me, as an actress,
Mm-hmm.
how do you cope with stress? Because I know as an actress, because I'm an actor myself, so I know we are under a lot of stress, especially when it comes times for shows. So how do you deal with your stress?
Yeah, I think in general, what I do, I listen to music. I make sure that I am mentally okay in the morning. Like I pray and I sit with myself for a while, and making sure that, especially if it's during a show, but for example, that I'm mentally okay to like head forth into the day. I also make sure that I eat, even if it's toast or a bowl of cereal, like on my stomach. And I make sure that like I just keep positive energy up, just so that I can give my best performance. But I guess also, as I realized in college, especially this first year, that even if I'm not having the best day, that I still put that energy, whether it's good or bad, into whatever. So yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Since you go through a PWI, have you ever experienced any racism?
Racism is such a heavy word. I have not experienced racism. I've experienced like prejudice. I've experienced like weird discriminatory type behavior, but not necessarily like racism.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
Well, the first time I experienced it at SMU, I kind of it was a lot for me, because we come from a predominantly Black area. So there's white people here, but we don't really interact with them. Like PG is Black. The DMV, especially PG, is Black. So I had experiences, but it wasn't to that extent where it was like people were there and no one cared. and I had never been in that situation, like by myself and in the situation where there was a ton of other people in the same area. So when it happened, I kind of was just in my feelings about it for a little bit, and I was feeling bad about myself. Like I felt invisible, and I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. So yeah, I mean, and then because I was feeling that way and I didn't like it, like I had never felt that way, especially in a space where I had just as much intelligence and just as much talent as anybody else. I had never felt that. So I went and I talked to some adults that are on campus, some Black people that were on campus, and I kind of just let all my feelings out that day. And they like validated how I was feeling.
Right.
I think that was probably the most important part of that day, that they validated how I was feeling. And yeah.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy. That's the world we live in, you know?
Right.
That's the sad truth. So you said you don't necessarily deal with racism, but more of prejudice and slight discrimination. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So dealing with that, and on top of being an actress, because as an actress, it's not your common job,
No.
you know. So you're not always sure that you're going to get booked for shows or movies or anything like that. So that's stressful. So how on between that and the prejudice and whatnot, how do you keep yourself in a healthy mental state? How do you keep yourself positive and going and rolling?
You know, to be completely honest, I didn't know how to do that, especially when I first got to Dallas, like during the fall. I was really bad. Like seasonal depression mixed with the fact that this is the first time that like being in Dallas for me was a culture shock, is a culture shock. So dealing with that at first wasn't great. On top of the fact that in the theater department itself, there's only 20 Black people, give or take, in the entire theater department out of like 200. So that's a big thing. What I found that even though SMU is like white, it's white, it's male, it's because it's the arts, and I guess because it's theater specifically, since we're talking about that, it's been easier in that way. Like, because, you know, they're more open. They're like, there aren't just white males in the world. There aren't just white women in the world. There aren't just white people in the world. There are Black people. There are people of the LGBTQ community. There are people of different backgrounds, and you can't expect for the world to revolve around just you when there's all these other people, you know? So that helped, that kind of community. On top of in the spring, this past couple months, I've been like going to therapy, which has been nice. Therapy is nice. So I've been doing that. That's been helping too. Oh, and surrounding myself, even though the community is small at SMU, surrounding myself in the Black community and in the community where I feel like we have allies, and in the community where I don't feel like I'm being judged and singled out and looked at like, ooh. Yeah.
That's actually really good. That's really, really good.
A lot of people, they think that therapy is for crazy people, but like it's not. Like therapy's okay. Like it's perfectly
it is.
Like if you need help, just people are afraid to say they need help instead of like they rather suffer than just say it.
Right.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for people who like try to be a support system for people who are like struggling with mental health?
Mental health doesn't look the same on everybody. Mental health is not like, there's no poster child, there's no like black and white handbook that you can turn to when it comes to mental health. Like, it's so broad, it's so diverse, you know, and it's different with every person, and you can't expect that because the way that it shows on one person is how it's supposed to show on the other person, even if they have similar situations going on with their mental health. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, you're not in their shoes, so you can't tell them what works. You can't tell them what's wrong with them. It's a trial and error type of thing. Some things work, some things don't. Some things make you feel good, and some things you can't do. Like, it's not good for you, and that's okay. There's that. You have to be open and understanding that there's a lot of situations and there's a lot of different possibilities, and you have to be able to alter yourself as an ally in that. Third thing I would say is, like, you know, do your research, do your homework on it. Like, you can't just, not just on like the big things, but on the small things. Like, there are tell signs, and then sometimes there's not. But also you have to understand that, like I said, it's no blueprint. You know, there's no black and white handbook, but at least have some type of general information about what you're trying to help with. You know, you can't help somebody if you don't know anything.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's good.
You
can't help nobody if you don't know nothing. Educate yourself, people. Educate yourself. My, that's a good one. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. So shoot, that's good. That's the words by Kayla Earl. That's good.
Sorry for like interrupting, but I do agree that like a lot of people feel like their therapy is kind of like such a scary thing. Like, it's such a scary topic to like talk about, especially like in the Black community, because we're always told, like, you know, we can't really be depressed, or, you know, like, we have more things to worry about than being depressed, stuff like that. I will say, from someone who has had therapy, that like therapy really helped me. And, you know, like, it's not just about expressing your feelings. Like, you can learn a lot of stuff like going to therapy. It's not just like how they depict it in the movies, where you're laying down in the chair and then someone's asking you about your problems.
That's good. That's good words from our president herself, Miss Janice Swan. That was a very good addition. Our last question for you, Miss Earl, because we know you have such a busy schedule, even though we are still in quarantine.
Yes. Ooh. Okay.
Like you said, your freshman year is coming to a close. You're finishing, right? Or have you finished already?
I finished like last week.
You have finished. Congratulations on that. But you finished. And I know for a fact, you know, being away from home, being all the way in Texas on your own, basically, at a PWI by yourself, I know for a fact that you've learned some valuable lifelong lessons. Can you share with us one of those lessons that you have learned on your journey?
Yeah. Oh man, it's a lot. One off the top of my head that I can think of right now. So when I came back home during the like winter break, I was like a month, which was just long, but I was home, and I was talking to my mentor, and I was telling her about how because even before winter break, we have like this fall break or like Thanksgiving break, which is really, really short. But so I like went with my dad, with my family, and then I went back on campus, and then I left again. So during that time where I left and then I came back and then I left again, I was like, whoa, culture shock again, 2.0. And I had to realize that like that's gonna be a thing, you know. And I was talking to my mentor, and she was saying, you know, don't let them run over you. You know, you're seen, you're a person, like you are you, and you're there for a reason. On top of the fact that because I was like culture shocked, but I was also like, why are people treating me like this, regardless of the fact that they're white? Why are they treating me like this? You know, she was like, you know, go in with the mindset that this is how they act. Sometimes this is how it is, and you have to just expect it. unfortunate.
Yeah.
Especially at a PWI, especially when you're Black, especially when you're a woman, especially like all these other things, you know, you have to expect that, and that's unfortunate. So that's the first thing off my head, top of my head. So, yeah.
But that's very good, and I will also say that's very relevant as well to now, like the recent events that have happened. Like I feel like for our community, it's not shocking. You know, we like, and it's sad to say, but it's not shocking. Like, not that we expected it or not that we wanted it to happen, but it, you know, it just happens so often that it doesn't phase us, you know. And I just, like you said, it's sad, but that's just their mentality.
Right.
They feel entitled. They, you know, and whatnot. So I don't want to speak too much on that because that's a whole nother conversation. But we thank you so much, Miss Kayla Earl, for joining us. We appreciate you spending time with us and taking the time out to, you know, talk to us about mental health, because it's very important right now. Like, even though it's not on the front lines of the conversation, it's still a conversation that needs to be had. So we thank you and we appreciate you for your time so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.